Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and we are going to continue our studies. And this time we are talking about trigonometric ratios, SOHCAHTOA. The legend of SOHCAHTOA, my teacher taught me back in high school. Thank you, Mr. Barrow. He told me that there was an Indian who went hunting. One day he went up the great mountain and he was thirsty and he got off his horse to get a drink of water. And his horse decided to wander away and he wandered up to go eat some grass. So he ended up going up the side of the mountain. I'll draw a line over here. And that's where dangerous animals were. And SOHCAHTOA went looking for his horse, and he noticed up the mountain there was a lion chasing something. And when he looked real good, he saw it was his horse being chased by a big lion. So SOHCAHTOA pulled out his arrow and shot from the bottom of the mountain where he was standing up to the area where the lion was, because the lion was just about to jump on his horse. And SOHCAHTOA shot the lion right through the heart and killed the lion. So we're going to study about how in the world could SOHCAHTOA shoot an arrow at a specific angle to kill the lion, and we're wondering how high above the ground did he shoot. So this is trigonometry that we're going to be dealing with. So there are certain parts of trigonometry that we need to get to know. So let us get with our lesson on SOHCAHTOA. So here's some terms that you should need to know. First vocabulary word is the word sine. Sine is the ratio of the length of the side opposite the acute angle to the length of the hypotenuse. We say sine of SOHCAHTOA, which is this Greek symbol theta. Theta is a way of saying a variable. So it's the opposite side over hypotenuse. So since it's a ratio is a fraction. So we're going to be using fractions to find these different figures, different values. So here, the dangerous side of the mountain is called the hypotenuse. Notice the lion is up there, there's a bear. How do we identify it on this triangle, on this right triangle? Well, we have a right angle here, and the right angle is always going to be opposite of the right angle. So there's going to be pointing. You can see the pointer, this corner here, is going to be pointing at the hypotenuse always. So no matter which way they flip the mountain up, this right angle is going to be opposite and always pointing at the hypotenuse. Now if SOHCAHTOA is standing down here at the bottom of the mountain, the side that's going way across over to here would be opposite him. So that would be our opposite side, and this would be our hypotenuse. So when SOHCAHTOA goes to look for his horse, he would go to the opposite side of the mountain and over to the hypotenuse side of the mountain. That's called looking for sine of SOHCAHTOA, which is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is another way of looking for the horse. It's the ratio of the length of the side adjacent, and adjacent means next to, the acute angle to the length of the hypotenuse. So cosine of SOHCAHTOA, or cosine of theta, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. That's our ratio. And here we got SOHCAHTOA again at the bottom of the mountain. Adjacent means next to, so right next to him would be here. So this side right here, that's adjacent. The hypotenuse is still the hypotenuse. Remember, it has the most dangerous animals up there, and it's across from the right angle, so it's always pointing to it. Here's another word we need to know, tangent. That's the ratio of the length of the side opposite to the acute angle to the length of the side adjacent to the acute angle. And I tell my students, when SOHCAHTOA has tried to look for his horse, he's going to look through the tangent way of looking through it, looking for it. So tan of SOHCAHTOA, or tan of theta, is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. So SOHCAHTOA has been to the hypotenuse twice. So notice there's no hypotenuse here. There's no value for it. But he can look twice over here at the opposite side because he's only looked at it one time, and he then can go over to the adjacent side because he's only looked at that side one time. So that would be opposite over adjacent, looking for his horse. So that's called tangent. So where do we begin to look for his horse? These young ladies want to know. So we spell SOHCAHTOA, S-O-H-C-A-H-T-O-A. That's the way to remember the trigonometric ratios, our fractions. So let's break it up. S-I-N, sine, is the opposite O-H for hypotenuse. There's the S-O-H, and so, CA, C-A-H. CA stands for cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. And we have TOA, which is the last part of SOHCAHTOA's name, tan, which is tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. So that's a quick, cute way to remember how to get your ratios. So here we have SOHCAHTOA here at the bottom of the mountain by the lake, and we have a line up there. That's the most dangerous side of the mountain, you remember, and it's opposite of the right angle. So that would be called our hypotenuse. So that's our hypotenuse. And we have SOHCAHTOA down here. So SOHCAHTOA is down here. That would be our x or our theta. And we have down here this water lake, and it's right next to him. So that would be right next to, would be adjacent. And then if you go all the way across where SOHCAHTOA is standing, all the way across, that would be his opposite side. So SOHCAHTOA, we have to go all the way over there to be opposite. So the 6 would be opposite, 8 would be adjacent, and the 10 would be the hypotenuse. So if we wanted to find sine of SOHCAHTOA, or sine of x, that would be the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite we found out was 6, and the hypotenuse was 10. So our fraction for sine would be 6 over 10. And now we have to find the cosine. That would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Do you remember what the adjacent number was? And if you said 8, you were correct. And the hypotenuse we already know is 10. And now we have to find the tangent, and that would be the opposite number over the adjacent number. And remember, the opposite is way across, and if you said 6, you are correct, over the adjacent, which is 8. So we have just found our sine, cosine, and tangent of SOHCAHTOA at the bottom of the mountain. So there's our first step for trigonometry. So see if you can try this one on your own, where we have some different numbers, 5, 12, and 13. SOHCAHTOA is standing here at the bottom of the mountain. I see that dangerous lion, so hopefully that'll help you remember which side that is called, and fill in your ratios. Okay, here's another question, and I see that lion over there. It looks dangerous to me, approaching where SOHCAHTOA is standing, and SOHCAHTOA this time is not at the bottom by the lake. He's up here at the top of the mountain. So if SOHCAHTOA is up there, then that means some of the numbers have got to change positions, because like next to him would be the 6. So the 6 would be the adjacent side, because it's right next to where SOHCAHTOA is standing. So 6 would be adjacent. And if SOHCAHTOA is way up there, in order to get down here, he has to go to the opposite side, and that would be of where he's standing. That would be the 8. Now we know the most dangerous side of the mountain is the hypotenuse, because it is opposite of where the right angle is. So we have our A, O, and H. So let's put in our fractions. What do you think the first one is? O over H. If you said 8 over 10, you are correct, because the opposite side now is 8. Whereas when SOHCAHTOA was standing at the bottom, the opposite side was 6. But now that he's standing at the top, he has a different vantage or viewpoint. And now what is our A over H? And if you said 6 over 10, you are correct. And now we're left with our O over A for a tangent. If you said 8 over 6, you are correct. We're allowed to have improper fractions in this. So be careful where SOHCAHTOA stands. Sometimes he's at the bottom near the lake or at the top of the mountain, just trying to figure out where his horse is to get a better vantage viewpoint. So here's one for you. Notice where SOHCAHTOA is standing. Oh, I see the line has disappeared, so hopefully you remember what side that is. So try to find those fractions. So I hope you understand it so far. If you don't, write down your questions, bring them in tomorrow. I'll be glad to answer them. So I hope you got something out of this. Here's another one for you to take home. SOHCAHTOA is standing at the bottom of the lake. So give it a shot. So this is Dr. Robinson signing off. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.